am really grateful for all of you being here, and let me answer your first question. The mayor will be here very soon. My name is Anupama Jain. I started in September of 2017 as the Executive Director of the Gender Equity Commission, and after a lot of hard work from people all over the city, we are able today to introduce commissioners who are serving to help us dismantle gender inequalities in our city. It is the beginning of Women's History Month, so it's an especially a great time to celebrate. We will be working every month to uplift women, to continue the work that started with many of our female forebears. In the back, just to tell you that this work is ongoing, and there are lots of other groups in the city that helped us to pass an ordinance, City Ordinance 177C, which I'll talk about, and you may find out about other groups in the city, other opportunities to work towards human rights in our city, region, nation, and the world. Ordinance 177C, which was passed in December of 2016, called for the creation of a Gender Equity Commission and the hiring of me. I work within the Bureau of Neighborhood Empowerment in the Mayor's office, and I'm honored to work with a number of people who I'm going to ask to come up if they're here today, the commissioners, and I will name them and briefly describe the work that they do. And this is a team of passionate local leaders and visionaries who are going to be meeting monthly in order to start building a foundation and develop action plans, concrete ways that we can address inequalities that mean that not everyone in our city is able to fully participate in the civic and public life that is so crucial. So if you are here, commissioners, and of course these are very busy people, and sadly some of them had to send their regrets, but I would love it if you would come up here and wave. Megan Block, civil rights attorney. Kelani Cook, founder of Black Tech Nation. Kathy Elliott, executive director of Gwen's Girls. Lee Fogarty, a leader in Cities for CEDAW Pittsburgh. I don't know if I saw Councilperson Deb Gross yet. She is one of our commissioners. She is the councilperson for District 7. Sarah Hansen, Senior Director of Operations for Pennsylvania Women Work. Magdalene Jensen, CEO of the Greater Pittsburgh YWCA. Sabrina Corbel, attorney at the Women's Center and Shelter of Greater Pittsburgh. Janet Manuel, in the City Department of Human Resources. Amanda Nietrauer, manager of the Women's Leadership and Mentorship Program at RMU. Chelsea Palatina, postdoctoral associate at McGee Women's Research Institute. Jessie Ramey, director of the Women's Institute at Chatham University. Sarah Schultz, professor of psychology at Point Park University. Mike Strelick, City Council Senior Budget Analyst. Rick Williams, City Manager of Equity and Inclusion. We are very grateful for your service. I've also been working in the last few months with two wonderful interns, Harni Sutaker, who is a Coro Fellow, and Ali Trainer, who is a senior at Pitt. And with these wonderful men and women, we are working to locally implement a UN treaty called CEDAW, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. As a human rights city, we in Pittsburgh recognize that gender-based discrimination violates the human rights of more than half of our population, and this will not stand. As we do our work, we are going to be using a human rights lens, and we won't lose sight of the diversity among women based on race, class, ability, sexuality, other demographic markers, and lived experience. And we are committed to an intersectional feminist approach to our work. We will identify and overcome gender-based discrimination by using the most current and reliable tools of analysis, disaggregating available data in order to look at patterns of inequality and to remedy those in sustainable and reliable ways. Areas of concern for us include, and it's not exhaustive, safety and security, education, employment, leadership, budgets, provision of services. We will identify areas for intervention specific to our city with the aid of a citywide gender analysis, and you can look out for our RFP shortly. We will be asking for the best and the brightest to help us with that work. We need all of you to join us. These are not women's issues, these are human issues. All reasonable people care about having equal access, and so we need all men, women, gender non-conforming, all human beings to join us in doing this work. In the back, there are cards with an email address, genderequity@pittsburghpa.gov. Everyone and anyone in the city of Pittsburgh who wants to share their perspectives, email us, ask us to be put on the newsletter so we can keep you updated as we go forward. Our website is in development. And as soon as INP gives me the go-ahead, we will be live with that. And I encourage people to reach out to me directly. This is your commission for the city of Pittsburgh, and we need all of you to work with us. CEDAW around the world, we're part of a global network, and CEDAW is about making the global local, and it reminds us that when women succeed, our communities thrive. And I'm going to pass the mic to Marcia Bandes, who is one of the local leaders who helped to make Ordinance 177C a reality and led to my position in the Gender Equity Commission. Thank you very much, and commissioners, if you'd like to blend back in the crowd, that is fine.
Well, good morning. Yes, I am Marcia Bandes, and I am so proud to be here today representing the Pittsburgh for CEDAW Coalition. As you know, many of you know, those of you who don't, CEDAW is the short name for the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. The reason we needed a short name, CEDAW. The goal of the UN Convention, passed in 1979, is to establish gender equity around the world. 189 countries have ratified it. We are standing here today because the U.S. is not one of them. Our CEDAW coalition was launched to participate in the Cities for CEDAW campaign, spreading across the United States. We are the sixth, but not the last city to pass an ordinance, a law that commits the city of Pittsburgh to strive for a more just and equitable city for all of the women and girls, including our lesbian, trans, and queer sisters. This includes all colors, religions, socioeconomic, and ethnic backgrounds and abilities. We are standing here today because the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, hearing about the Cities for CEDAW campaign, reached out to New Voices Pittsburgh and the Women and Girls Foundation and asked if they would help us, and they jumped right in to help us spread the word. Soon we had individuals representing the Zonta Club, Pittsburgh Human Rights City Alliance, the UPitt School of Social Work, Women's Law Project, Lincoln Women Voters, college students, and individuals committing themselves to laying the groundwork for gender equity in Pittsburgh. And many didn't just sign a letter to support us. You called your council members, wrote letters, spoke at our post-agenda and public hearing. The city council members passed our gender equity ordinance unanimously. Thank you all for believing. You made this happen. So we now have an executive director, Anu, and we have, as you have just heard, the most amazing commission, which you've heard about already. But they are going to need our ongoing support. So my next ask, the ask of our CEDAW coalition, is for you to call or write your council member and let them know that you are first excited about the Gender Equity Commission and that it's been established, and second, ask them to give the commission their full support as it goes forward. The commission will be sponsoring a citywide gender analysis, as Anu had mentioned, and then providing the results to the various city departments and asking these departments to examine their own budgets and programs to identify ways that their department can be a difference maker. to help make Pittsburgh a more just and suitable city. This is heavy lifting, and they're going to need everyone's support. Both the commission and the city department will need your ongoing support and encouragement. So as Anu had finished up, let me also, when women succeed, a community thrives. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Marcia. And it is, I will keep repeating how much this is a group effort and very long in the making. We're very excited that one of our commissioners represents District 7 as their councilperson. I'm going to turn it over to Councilperson Deborah Gross to make some comments.
Thank you all. Thank you. I'm so very glad that we have this Gender Equity Commission, and it's populated by such tremendous assets from across the city of Pittsburgh. What is interesting, I think, and what our opportunity is here is to have this Gender Equity Commission help us create the Pittsburgh that we want to see in the future. This is a moment for us to invest in each other. We are seeing economic growth, we're seeing economic stabilization, but we want to make sure that we see it equitably and evenly across the city. We're going to have to ask ourselves some hard questions, and the commission is our opportunity to get the answers. We learned in discussion already in forming the commission that over 60% of the poor citizens in the city of Pittsburgh are female-headed households with children. There is a gendered aspect to poverty, and we need a gendered solution to address it. What are the needs of women, female-headed households? What are the needs of those children in those households? That changes the question, and it changes the answer. So we need to use that gendered lens, as Annie was talking about, and ask that of all of the activities of city government, whether it's paving, whether it's parks, whether it's snow removal. Is there a gendered element? Is there some inequity in snow removal? I don't have the answers, but it's okay to ask the questions, and we should be prepared to find out. I'm particularly interested, as Chair of Land Use and Economic Development, in how we incentivize real estate development in the city, and who benefits and who suffers. Who are we investing in, and who are we not investing in? And this commission is our opportunity to both ask that question and get that answer. So you've heard us talk about what we're doing with our tax incentives and our tax breaks and how that is one of the forces in what we're having in our affordability crisis. We now also know that there's a gendered aspect to that housing affordability crisis. And so it's our opportunity to ask questions about all of the range of economic development activities, of real estate investment in the city, and find out how we can invest in each other equitably. So I want to thank all of the commissioners for being willing to lend all of their volunteer time, but also their expertise in helping us figure out how we build an equitable Pittsburgh for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Gross. And I just wanted to put a shout out. We do have some gender diversity on our commission, and perhaps we could have two commissioners who came in a few minutes late. Rick Williams, who is the city's manager of diversity and inclusion, and Mike Strelick, who is a senior budget analyst for city council. I got that right. And so I just wanted to say we are going to continue to think about all Pittsburghers, and we're going to look for patterns of gender discrimination historically that has really impacted women. But we're going to be really attuned to the needs of all Pittsburghers. So thank you. I'm going to now invite up Deputy Director of Human Resources for the City of Pittsburgh and another Commissioner, Janet Manuel.
Thank you and good morning. Not only do I hold the title of Acting Director of Human Resources and Civil Service, I am also the EEO and Diversity and Inclusion Officer for the City of Pittsburgh. So it is a privilege and an honor for the City of Pittsburgh Department of Human Resources and Civil Service to support and work collaboratively with the Gender Equity Commission. Maya Angelou said, "History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again." How appropriate for Mayor Peduto and the City of Pittsburgh to publicly launch the Gender Equity Commission during National Women's History Month. This is a clear message that we have courage to work together to devise solutions to the equity challenges facing the city so it will not be lived again. We will sail on the wind with the 2018 theme for National Women's History Month. Nevertheless, she persisted. She persisted by honoring women who fight all forms of discrimination against women. Thank you.
So I have a few minutes for questions. The mayor is on his way and will be concluding the press conference. If there's anyone who has any questions, I also want to turn your attention to some information we're gathering. Part of what we're doing is we're doing an education campaign because a lot of people don't actually understand the depth of gender inequality. As the councilperson pointed out, there is a gendered component to most issues impacting our country and our city, and women disproportionately bear the brunt of some of the most pressing challenges of our time. So do look at our poster and feel free to ask questions. Is there anyone who would like to? Yes, and can you say your name for us?
Certainly. I'm Kelly Robbins, president of the National Association of Women Business Owners here in Pittsburgh. I want to first congratulate you and Mayor Peduto. Could you tell me what you feel like is going to be your first steps in terms of gender equity?
Absolutely. So we're spending this, the commission was seated in December. We started meeting in our monthly public meeting, so all of you are welcome to help us do our work. For the first few months, we have to do some institution building. We have to create our bylaws and our code of ethics. After that, we will be commissioning a gender analysis, which we will use to create a 5-year plan for the city, which will include recommendations for city departments. And we want to be a thought leader and a model for public and private organizations. This work can be done. It needs to be done intentionally, and it needs to be done with emerging tools. So we will be looking at representation of women. We'll be looking at the specific reasons why there are barriers to gender equity in terms of the city as an employer, and seeing how that fits into the landscape of Pittsburgh as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Did anyone? And I see another commissioner has arrived. Kalani, welcome. Yes.
I'm Barbara Jones, and I belong to the League of Women Voters.
Thank you.
And this is all very impressive, and there's a wonderful turnout. I'm wondering if there will be ongoing public events, if anything is scheduled to make it as participatory as possible.
Thank you for asking. Part of why I created the Gender Equity at PittsburghPA.gov email is because we really want to be transparent in our work. We are required by the ordinance to make our meetings, monthly meetings, on the third Tuesday of every month, except for May this year, is from 2:30 to 4:30 right here in this building. So first of all, we invite, and we've made time in our agenda every month for the public to come, share their thoughts with us. I'm hoping later this year, perhaps late in the summer, to have a social event where we can meet constituents and hear what their thoughts are and their concerns. I'm also hoping to start to have office hours in different neighborhoods to really start to hear what the word on the ground is. That we can't do this without participation and input from everyone in the city, because if we devise solutions that only work for some of us, we will continue to leave behind too many Pittsburghers. So I hope that answers your question. Yes?
With
Yes, and I think the way that I think about it is not that we want to push anyone out. We want to analyze and understand the culture that is creating barriers to full participation of people across gender diversity. And so working with Commissioner Janet Manuel is really important. Working with Mike Strelick, who understands city budgets. These are the folks who are going to help us to see where are the barriers and how can we work with the people in power, which they're white men, but they're human too. And so we will be working with all people to consider how to make change. And it's not change that will happen tomorrow. I can't show up tomorrow and say, we've solved our diversity challenges. I would be lying to you, and I would be promoting something that's just not true. When you have generations and centuries of gender inequality, which is the reality, and we've been working to undo it, but the predictions say we've still got decades to go until, as a country, we actually have gender parity. 18% of our elected officials in this state are women. That's a very low number by any measure when we talk about our demographics. And so to answer your question, absolutely, I think we can address that, and we will do it in a way that is intentional, based on research and based on proven methods where we have the evidence that these things are sustainable and affordable. Any other questions? I think the mayor is about 30 seconds out, so I know you're all eagerly waiting, but in the meantime, in fact, I believe that I can turn over the mic to this Mayor William Peduto. And we are so grateful because one of the challenges for equity issues, and so many people in this city, around the country, and around the world have been championing women's empowerment. You need people at the very top to take the lead. And we are very lucky in our mayor and in our council people that they are 100% behind this.
Is there a budget for this work?
There is a budget, and we, I'm eagerly looking this way. Now we still have 2 minutes? Okay, I guess I get to keep talking. So the ordinance called for a budget to pay for one staff person, which is my position, and I requested a budget based on recommendations from Pittsburgh for CEDAW. We followed the patterns of the 5 cities in the country that passed CEDAW ordinances before us. So we're basing our recommendations for budgeting on what has happened in other contexts. And we have a budget for a citywide gender analysis.
How much is
$45,000.
for the analysis?
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Mayor, thank you very much.
First, thank you, Anu, for taking this role. And I also have to thank Councilwoman Natalia Rudiak for this is a part of her legacy. For taking the lead. Pittsburgh will be one of the only cities in America that will be doing this work, and the eyes of America will be upon us. The work that we do looks at all different ranges of the employment, positions, opportunities for women within city government. And then it becomes the baseline model for our corporate community in this city to follow. I think it's very important and critical to understand that there is a responsibility that city government does have to lead in issues such as this. This is how it begins. It doesn't start in Washington. It doesn't start in Harrisburg. Movements that have had the most effect on social change within this country have happened by individuals, people that organize in their towns, villages, or cities and are able to make great things happen. To the members of this commission, I expect great things. I expect nothing less than making Pittsburgh a model of where we can talk openly about where discrimination exists and where we can address it through proactive legislation. So the report itself is not a report, it is the basis of legislative change, a change that is long overdue. And again, Anu, I'm sure you had the opportunity to recognize the members of this commission, but I would hope Pittsburgh would take the time to look at the backgrounds as well. had the opportunity, one by one, to go through each person's resume, basically, with Anu. And this is quite potentially the most talented commission that we have, and that includes our board's authorities as well, within city government, and quite potentially the highest educated, most experienced commission that has ever been put together. So you've got your work cut out for you. And I'm looking forward to the report.
Thank you all so much for being here. And the Mayor's Office, the Gender Equity Commission, is one of the ways in which the Office of Mayor William Peduto is undertaking this work, and we are also pursuing other areas that are very important to all of us in the city and around the world, issues of sexual harassment, accommodations for lactating women, other ways of thinking about leadership. So keep an eye out for this Mayor's Office for this city, because I really do think we're going to change the world and others are going to be following our lead. Thank you.
Be great,